morning. I love the sash on the wreath that says loving husband and dog dad. That's perfect. So mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. If you know Psalm 23, please join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is a piece by Alvin Fine. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. And life is a journey, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not in some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. This is a piece by Mary Oliver. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the weasel pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door of curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like, that cottage of darkness. And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. This is by Robin Fox. It's called For the Last Time. How do you know the last time to ask when is the last time? How are you? How was your day? The last time to say, I love you. Good night. Sweet dreams. You don't. And so you must reach out with love and compassion at every opportunity to show those who love you that you care. You love and need to be needed. In a world where you suddenly find yourself alone once again in an achingly painful way because someone you love has left you behind, to seek your own paths and truths in an uncertain time and place. The only thing certain is that you're truly not alone because of those who do love you. And for that, be thankful and grateful and feel blessed that you were able to say, good night, I love you, one last time. And this is by Alden Solivey, Blessings Now a River. And one day, you will be gone. Simple as that. Gone. A blank space, the flow of life filling the spot where you once were. Or could it be that the love once held within you will finally be free? That your old container, now broken, will no longer bind you? That your blessings, now a river, will flow freely? That your sacred spirit will fill the universe? And on that day, you will be here, more here than ever. Simple as that. Here unbounded, as unimaginable as infinity, as radiant as light. A holy space most present in this sacred place, here where the heart dwells. And this is by Maya Angelou. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber to safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Space is filled with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. And Hannah Senesh, Yesh Kochabim. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we love. Their memories keep shining, ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember. The Harel Altman that I got to know in the last few years was a Renaissance man. He worked for many years in the music business, so he clearly had musical talent. That career was cut short by ALS. But despite being confined to a wheelchair, Harel continued to be a creative man in so many areas. He was an incredible wordsmith, writing beautiful pieces of prose that he would text me or share with me in other ways. Here's a short piece that he wrote. And when you remember me, think of a beautiful summer sunset, of the green and the heather, of the wind running its fingers through the leafy trees. Think of the seabird as it flies across the ocean toward its imagined home, and you will know my love is forever near. He was also an amazing photographer, sending me photos of sunsets, nature, flowers, and the like. He gifted me with a beautiful sepia photograph of two hands holding onto a rope, which I still have in my office. He was also a great defender of justice, seeking to give veterans in particular their due. He was a fierce warrior when it came to the VA, and was honored at a gala in Los Angeles by the Los Angeles Free Legal Aid Society for taking on the VA and winning. No small feat. He was also a deep thinker, trying to wrest meaning out of a hand that was so unjustly dealt him. First point, right before Steve, Avi, and I went to City Hall to get the wedding license for Harel and Avi, Harel discovered that his mother's name was Esther, and that is when he fully embraced his Jewish identity, insisting on being called by his Hebrew name of Harel, the mountain of God, than by his given name of Sean. And that's when Steve adopted his Hebrew name of Avi. Here's a short piece Harel wrote to his mother. It's called Dust of Time. Many roads lead to home, but none lead to Mama's heart. Now through half-shaded light as I rest in my chair at night, I move my way alone in the throng, painted in sorrow. I heed not one, where haunting shadows follow inside partial sleep. She lived in scattered dreams. In all you do in life, remember, you are loved, she said. Then my hand slipped from her keep, and through the dust of that separating space, to hear her heart I may pretend, and imagine I see her face again. I will dream she loved me long ago, so long ago, that she was my mama. Of course, the final blow that Harel was dealt was the illness that ravaged his poor body. Having volunteered to serve his country in the armed forces, he was exposed to Agent Orange and other lethal chemicals, which led eventually to ALS. To live with ALS was such torture, though he never complained, and certainly not in my presence. He sent me this piece by David Jane, which sums up the ALS experience. The decline into paralysis is nothing short of pure hell. Everything begins to fail. Everything becomes a memory, including most friends. And you are the exceptions here today, because a lot of people did abandon the couple. Many cross the bridge from non-disabled to disabled with you. ALS overwhelms all that it touches. Too many were unable to deal with his condition. His spirit was never broken, however. Here's a beautiful piece he sent me by Herbert Butterfield that captures his life. The memory of the world is not a bright, shining crystal, but a heap of broken fragments, a few fine flashes of light that break through the darkness. Harel's soul was that spark of light breaking through the darkness. Harel was fortunate to have found a soulmate in Steve Avi Altman, and I was privileged to officiate at their wedding as soon as same-sex marriages were legal again in California. Avi was his rock. Sensing that his days were numbered, Harel wrote an ascension poem that I would like to share with you. I wish you a place of calm in the midst of difficulty, and hope that your ability to feel all the textures of life continues to give you the ability to see all the possibilities around you, so that you may dare to act upon them, as I have. It's within the daring to do what we think is impossible that we find inner peace, understanding, and compassion, which many have never known before. Because I'm such a strong person who does feel all the textures of life, I have become increasingly aware, as each day passes, that the most difficult thing for me to do these days is to continue to be who I am, while trying to live with this horrific disease. My mind is willing and able, but my body is not. And that is undeniably difficult, as I think it would be for any person. But I keep moving forward regardless of the difficulty. If I must dig into my mind's eye to find other ways to do what I need to do, Then I will do so until I cannot find any reason to search there anymore. Though it is true, when we reach a stressful time in our lives, our vision somehow becomes narrower, and we sometimes fail to see the options and possibilities we have. Thankfully, I have not reached that place of blindness to reality and all the support I have around me. The man I am strives to keep one eye on the horizon, even in worrisome situations. They breathe deeply, even when it is difficult to breathe, so they do not tighten up or close off their exchange with the world. For without that exchange, in fact, there would be no change in the world at all. They return to the relationship they have with their own source of light, trusting in the process to carry them through. They open their eyes to quietly take in all the possibilities, which are just beyond the horizon, just around the corner, just around the bend, or down the road less traveled. And Avi, Harel's beloved one, is going to say a few words.
Wow, thank you all for coming. This is awesome. That's better. Okay. All right. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I'm wearing the tie, all right? All right? You happy? And you were wrong, by the way. Yeah, you were wrong. I'm sorry, but you were wrong. This is the first time in 43 years that I can say he was wrong and actually be right. As he said, nobody would be here. So, you know, what are you going to do? All right, I'll do the next one. Go away. You know, I tell you, the life with Harel, Sean, a lot of you knew him as Sean, and some of you know him as Avi. The life with him wasn't it wasn't ideal in many ways. This was his cub, and it would wind up in any part of the house at any particular time of day, against the wall, in a chair, dripping on the floor, because ALS did that to him, and it was very frustrating, very, very frustrating for him to be able to communicate. So sometimes he gets so frustrated that, yeah, this would wind up usually through the front door, and he was in the back of the house. So it was those times that were the most difficult. It wasn't a perfect union all the time, but whose is, you know? It's like he'd say, you know, so what? We'd argue, we'd fight about things, we'd debate everything, then we'd join in each other's arms and watch a movie at the end of the night, or he would be working on one of his many plays. One of the things, you know, most of the time I remember is him sitting there looking at a screen, and if y'all of you use any programs of you know, mixing music, he was a heck of an engineer. I mean, he learned so much and did so much. He was a master engineer, became a Foley artist. He would take plays and movies, and we listened to a lot of audiobooks because he could not hold a regular book. So we get him hardback copies that he would put in his lap and follow along. And then he would take audio plays and make 16-hour miniseries out of them. So if it was a 30-minute play, you could pretty much count on spending the whole night listening to it with sound effects and birds and, you know, God knows what he put in it. He created thousands and thousands of sounds, which actually wound up on a lot of artists' albums because everything gets taken on iTunes and you have no control over it. So a lot of his work was taken and used in so many different things, and we could go to YouTube and pull up any artist and he'd say, that's my mix. And I would say, you're right, that is your mix. Because they would take his mixes and they'd use those instead of the lousy ones they made. So, you know, he was very, very good at that. And that was something that brought us together, was our love of theater and music. He put himself through school and became one of the 10 top designers back in the 80s. His work is seen on various CD albums. And during the big hair days, he was a master at it. So it was all over the place. And they loved that. And he perfected the art of extensions that he wound up teaching a lot of people how to do up there. And that was his talent. Later on, he spent 5 years working one-on-one with Dr. Richard Stafford, who was a retired Harvard English professor, and he wrote a novel, 470 pages, and we were hoping to get that published. At the time, it was picked up by Doubleday, but we couldn't do it because he started getting sick. And the testing that went with it just kept us from being able to do that. So it's on the back burner, and I will get it published. It's a heck of a novel. In fact, his professor did tell him that if he could give him a PhD in English Lit, he would, because he said he never had a student that could write like that didn't come from an English background, and he was proud to work with him. So I'm hoping to get that out there. Cross your fingers. Watch this space. You know, he had a heck of a wit when we weren't fighting. He was funnier than heck, and I could make him laugh, and he could make me laugh. And I tell you, he was, when he served, I don't know a lot about his service, because he didn't talk a lot about it. He said, that's something that only brothers talk about when they're in the service. So, you know, what he did relate to me was one instance where his humor came in. He came from a very toxic environment, and it, when he escaped into the service, he said there were two incidents where one was, he went in, he's a 6 foot tall guy. Everybody knew he was like 3 feet tall, and talked to him like he's 3 feet tall in that chair. And but he was actually 6 feet tall, about 125 pounds, nothing there. And they all said to him when he went into the service, they said, you won't last 10 minutes. He flew through basic training and watched all the big husky, burly guys there with bulging muscles all drop. And he made it through. One day he went out where his humor, where he escaped into his humor was, during reveille, he walked out one day, and they were all in line, what they do. And the drill sergeant was there going up and down. All of a sudden, he got a case of the giggles. And we all know what happens when you get a case of the giggles. So the drill sergeant walked up to him and said, Private, you got a problem? And he said, Sir, no, sir. And he's still laughing. He said, you sure you don't have a problem? He says, Sir, no, sir. He said, as long as you said sir before and at the end of the sentence, you wouldn't get in trouble. What can I say? So he said, you know, Private, I can make your life absolute hell, and I am one mean son of a you-know-what. He said, Sir, I've got a mother that's meaner than you. Sir. And at that point, drill sergeant busted a gut, and so did everybody in line, and I think about 100 push-ups later, they all went about their day. So that was one. Well, that's what kept him going. That's what kept us going. And I was a caregiver for 25 years and had wonderful people around me to help me through it. And we made the best of it. And a lot of people said, why don't you leave? How come you're not there? Well, you do what you do for those that you love and care about, period, end of story. And that's what we did. We loved. We fought, we loved. We hated, we loved. We liked, we loved. And in the end, we just loved. And the last night that we were there, that I was there for him, I said, good night. He went out, and I woke up 6 hours later, and he was gone. And right next to him, he was just kind of like this, like he was asleep. I hope I go that way. I think we all hope we go that way. And, excuse me. Dry mouth, of course. And every night he went, he was very much into, and loved embracing the Jewish faith, as Rabbi Singer said. He was the one that wanted to get married in temple. And at that time I said, what? And he said, no, we're going to get married in temple. Okay, well, I relented and said, all right, if that's what you want to do, but, he said, no, I feel very close to it and we're going to do it. Okay, I didn't argue with him. Did I? So, we went ahead and did it. It was one of the best days of our life. Rabbi Singer officiated. It was just a beautiful day for everybody that was there. We thank our friend Jill who helped us put it together. And that and Irish stew made the night. So it was a very, very beautiful affair, and I was glad that he talked me into it, even though, So it was a good night. When he took on the VA, which was a real harrowing thing, he wasn't about to let them get the better of him. They weren't recognizing gay marriage at that time, and they weren't recognizing ALS as a service-connected disability. So we spent 2.5 years fighting it. We had a warrior with attorney that we found. Nobody in Riverside County would take our case. I must have called everybody, and they were all the same. We'll call you back on Monday. We'll call you back on Monday. Blah 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 blah. So I finally got a referral to the some LA attorneys, and I was referred to the LAFLA, FLA, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, and it was about 4:55 in the afternoon on a Friday, and I got a hold of this beautiful voice, and her name was Jillian Sadler, and she listened to me till after 5, and she said, "I'll call you back on Monday." Okay, fine, have a great weekend. And 8:05 on Monday morning, she called back and said, "We will take your case. It's not right what they did. My supervisor said we will take your case." So after that, Jillian and he became a force to be reckoned with. And of course, I did all the paperwork. So that's what I was good at. So endless reams of paper and lots of digging and lots of fighting back and forth. And he took them on, and he won. And so we managed to take that on. We did a video for them, and it was 115 degrees that day when we did the video. We could not run the air conditioning in the house because you'd hear that's all you would hear. So it was actually about 125 or 30 in the house, and he got all decked up, and if you knew him, and a lot of you did, he never went anywhere without any suit, shirt, tie, up to there, and he said, we did this, and I'm going to do this, and I don't care how hot it is, but this is me, and they're going to see me. And he did it, and we got through the day, and I was absolutely awash in sweat, and but it was a good day, and we had a great time with it, and he deserved it. He deserved it at the awards banquet. Our Rabbi Singer and my sister Judy were there and to help celebrate, and it was a wonderful night, and he deserved it. We got a standing ovation from about 500 to, I think it was 500 to 1,000 attorneys in there, and they played our story, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I thank him for that. He taught me how to fight, and we fought everything from prejudice to someone at our door one time with a butcher knife trying to kick in the door and come in and kill us. And I was against the door, and he moved me aside. He said, "Go call 911. I said, "No, you call 911. He said, "No, I will stand here and block the door because I'm trained to do that. Get over there and call." And I said, "Okay." So he stood there while this door was being kicked in, and darn if he didn't keep her from coming in. And luckily, she was caught, and made a fool of herself, and that's what we did. We fought after that. Again, we were fighting, and it was always a fight to prove our existence and who we were. You weren't going to mess with him. That's all there was to it. You did something against him, he was going to turn around and say, "Okay, well, we'll see you in court," or, "I will run you over with my chair." When we bought our home, we finally got our last home. He said, "Let's use the VA and let's go." And that was after we had to put his best friend, Maisie, down, and it was a sad day for us, and we decided at that time we were going to make a new life. So he bought us a home. He said, "Let's use the VA. That's what we fought for, and let's get it." So we got our new home, and we got up there, and every day from the first day on, he would corner me. He would actually use his chair and corner me right up here, like this, and he'd say, how can you fight with a 1,000-pound chair, right? So he'd corner me up against there, and he'd say, "How much do you love our home?" And I would say, "How much do you love our home?" And he'd say, "How much do you love us?" And then I'd say, "How much do you love us?" We embrace, we hug, we kiss, and it was just wonderful. He did that every day, every single day, whether he was up to it or not. At some point, he would do that. He was just so glad because he said we found each other again. Because ALS takes that away from you. It takes away your ability to relate. And pretty soon, if you're a caregiver, you're related to doctors, nurses, social workers, and everything else. But your focus is taken away from the person who really needs that attention. So we kind of lost that for a while, but we found it in the end. We had a wonderful, wonderful last 9 months together. And I will miss him to the end. He was my rock. He chose the name Harel, Mountain of God. He wasn't a mountain of God. I don't know that he was a mountain of God, but he was surely a mountain of strength. And I will miss that every day for the rest of my life. I love you, honey. I wish you were here. what you are. He sends us, the nice thing was, I will say this, the day that he died, that night, we had a beautiful thunderstorm. I don't know if you remember that, it was June 17th, that night, went into June 18th. My mother's birthday was June 18th, so I know that she came to get him, and the first thing she did was show him how to, she took him into wherever it is they go there, and she taught him how to do Weather 101. So, and it's been going on ever since, if you notice. So, I know he's around, he lets me know that. Before he left me, he said, I want you to do me one thing. He said, do us one thing. And he said, I want you to go save another little girl. And he said, you're going to need a companion and a friend. And he said, so go save another little girl. And I wasn't ready to do that yet. So one day it just hit me. I went, and it was something told me to go. And I looked up this foundation. It's the Mary S. Roberts Foundation. And they're in Riverside. They're a wonderful, wonderful organization. And we found our little dog I found our dog, and I said, what are we going to name her? And he said, don't worry, I've got a name for her. So I said, okay, because we can't name her what we named her before, which was Maisie. And I said, so what do we name her? He says, we're going to name her Honor. Spelled the English way, by the way, with a U. Okay, fine, all right, I'll do that, all right? So I found Honor, and he said, because she's going to honor what we did together, who we were, and all these servicemen that are in need that we fought so hard for, and which we did, because now the VA does recognize gay marriage and ALS as a service-connected disability, and he did that. He was determined, and that was who he was. If you needed him, he was there. Anything you needed. Whether it was, he'd whip out that checkbook or whatever was in his pocket, and he would say, here, I got it. And, or if you just needed an ear, or just wanted to hear him talk, he was a historian, an artist, a poet, a writer, a musician, and just a really genuine, wonderful human being. And I wish you all could have gotten to know him more, but be that as it may, you get to know him now, and through me, I will not let our story die, because he said, get out there and tell our story. And I will be telling our story over and over and over. You're going to get sick of it, so, It's going to be like, really? Can't you come up with another chapter? Well, no, I think I've said it all already. But I want to thank all of you for coming and for proving him wrong. Now I got that on me. And, he was always right, let's face it. No matter what. Because if he wasn't right, he got the chair. It's all there is to it. And that's really, I like to, when he did die, he read my uncle, Rabbi Herbert Morris's book. And every night, this was next to him, and he would read. He would come up and he would read. And he had it on 2 sections that I would like to read for you that he had marked here, which I didn't know about, but he had them marked. He knew what he was doing. He always knew what he was doing. He'd say to me for 43 years, I know what I'm doing. And I'd say, no, you don't. He'd say, I know what I'm doing, so I can't argue with that. So I'd like to read one portion that he had marked out here. And it says on this page, it says, we are a life-loving people, creative and free, bound to you by this covenant, ever new and ever changing. It is today that we find life. The past belongs to you, and the future belongs to you. This day, this year belongs to us. We are all part of nature. The human body and soul are sacred, created in your image. This is our covenant with God. This covenant is our blessing. And he had that page marked. And then he had this page marked, and I'll end with this. It's called Adon Olam. Master of the universe, from the beginning until the end, thou art one, the ruler of all, the source of all creation. You are my God, my strength in moments of trial. I place my entire being into your hands. Asleep, awake, I have no fear. That's who he was. Thank you again for coming.
It's interesting, you were talking about weather signals, and I looked out the window and the sun was shining all of a sudden.
English weather and.
Hi. Amazing. Yeah, English weather is not very sunny, that's for sure.
But we might have to.
Yeah. I mean, look, here it is again. Look. He's having a dialogue with us.
So I'm going to ask you to please rise for El Male Rachamim, which I will do in Hebrew and then I'll translate it in English. If you're able, if you're not able, that's okay too. El Male Rachamim, Shochen V'Hamomim, Amsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kiddushim U'Tehorim K'Zohar HaRakia Masirim, Et Nishmat Harel Shani Ben Esther, Shehalach LeOlamot, Ba'al HaRachamim, Yastirehu V'Seta K'Nafa LeOlamim, B'Yitzror HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'Yanuach V'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace within your embrace, together with the holy and pure whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated. And
this is a piece by Rabbi Zoe Klein. We say shalom and not goodbye. For shalom is goodbye and hello and wholeness and peace, all threaded together in one breath. And in one breath, we too say goodbye, to a hand to hold, a kiss, and a tight embrace. And in the same breath of shalom, we say hello to an ocean of memories and rush of emotion, gratitude and sorrow, tears and laughter, and trembling and fatigue, all in one breath. Before we conclude the service this morning, I just want to announce that we are going to go to the Riverside National Cemetery for military honors and to place the remains in columbarium there. And then if anyone wants to join the family for a meal at the American Legion in Moreno Valley, you are all welcome to join. When we get to the columbarium is when we're going to do the Martyr's Cottage. That's when you do it, when the person's finally buried. But we're going to conclude this morning with a video that Avi made in honor of Harel.
time will come when we will all soar together again. What a joyous, soul-warming day that will be. This promise I have found I can live with and patiently wait for. Yours in spirit, Sean.
So I guess the pallbearer should come forward and bring the ark.
And please be prepared to protect your hearing if need be.
Right, peace! Forward! Huh. Ready! Aim! Ready! Aim! Ready! Aim! Freeze!
Please turn your attention to Mr. Redmond and the United States flag for the sounding of taps.
Sir, on behalf of the President of the United States, the United States Army, and the grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service.
Sir, on behalf of the patient, our riders, my brothers and sisters, stand back today. Please accept this bed. This bed actually actual ship fire shells that were found. bag. Red, white, blue, and Army for service. You're a part of our family. Thank you so much. I will talk to the family after service is done at Riverside. God bless you.
Family and friends, the United States of America honors the memory of Francis Redmond. This certificate is awarded by a grateful nation in recognition of devoted and selfless consecration to the service of our country in the armed forces of the United States. Signed, President Joe Biden. Sir, on behalf of the President of the United States of America, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and a grateful nation, we accept this certificate as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service to our nation.
Now that the remains are in the final resting place, we're gonna oversight the mourner's cottage. And interestingly, the mourner's cottage does not actually mention death. It's a very positive, life-affirming, faith-affirming prayer. In other words, we memorialize those who passed on, but we also continue living, and we live with the values that they taught us. We live with the memories that we have. So if you can follow along on the paper, it's transliterated, or if you read Aramaic, you can what it is just a praise of God. In a lot of different synonyms. Ikidal, Mikdash, Shvei Rabah, V'alman, Ra, V'tei, V'yahid, V'chayafon, V'yomefon, Hayed of all Beit Israel, V'adalah, V'zman Karim, Amen. Yehei Shvei Rabah, V'varach, V'alam, V'alei, Amaya. Yikorah, V'shtavah, V'kalar, V'golam, V'kaseh. V'golam, V'zaleh, V'galeh, V'yishal, La'elon, V'chol, V'yachata, V'shirata. Tushachata, Nechmata. Da'amiran, V'alma. V'yirun, Yehei Shlama, Rabba, Min Shmaya. V'chayim, Aleinu, V'al Israel. V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Yirmah. Oseh Shalom, Aleinu, V'al Israel. V'imru, Amen. Source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort for all who are bereaved, as together we say. So traditionally, the family actually buries the person in a form. They do a few symbolic scoops of dirt. And today, given the circumstances, we're going to just do one symbolic scoop. Avi's going to do his hands. So, you want to use it? Maybe just pour it in.
You can throw it if you want. Throw it.
the sound also is important. It sort of reinforces the fact that it is, final, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.